in your most recent video, the one about AI safety career advice, you do encourage your viewers to go into technical AI safety, and you specifically mentioned Anthropic and Google DeepMind having these safety teams. But do you really think that we should be encouraging people to go work at Anthropic and Google DeepMind?
Do you think that everyone who understands and cares about these issues should not be in the room where they can affect what actually happens?
So I would dispute the premise that there has to be this room where you build the AI, right? How about we just don't have that room and we lobby for the room to not exist?
Uh, sure, but you can't put all your eggs in that basket.
Right. Okay. So it's like I agree that it's like better than nothing to send people onto the inside of these companies that are doing something that we disagree with. But maybe we should send like most people to stand outside and stand in government and stand in rallying the people, as opposed to being like, yes, go forth and get in on the inside, because I'm sure you'll be able to do something so productive from the inside of these organizations that are locked into this race with bad game theory. I'm sure that you being on the inside is net positive. It's like, isn't that kind of like a last resort to go into the inside?
Well, most people can't get inside anyway. So if you can, why not?
The term I use is tractability washing. So these AI companies, whether intentionally or unintentionally, they benefit from the frame that AI safety is a problem that you just spin up a team and that team is working on that while you also work on capabilities. And are you going to solve the alignment in time in the 5 years or whatever, however much time you have to solve it before it's too late? Are you going to solve it? Well, the answer to that question is we're going to do our best, because it's a sufficiently tractable problem that we're going to do our best. Whereas from my perspective, it's like, wait a minute, if we're grown-ups about this, if we can see a high probability that our best efforts are likely to fail, that this isn't a very tractable problem unless we get very, very lucky, then let's have the intractability discussion. Let's do what one does when the problem is potentially intractable. And they're just totally steering you away from that discussion. They're tractability washing.
Yeah, it's not obvious to me how tractable the problem is. I see pretty plausible arguments on both sides here, or at least that, if you redefine the problem such that it doesn't scale to this true superintelligence stuff, it seems relatively tractable. It's the proper superalignment stuff that seems way less certain. Given that these companies exist and they have something called a safety team, that safety team should have smart people on it, and they should understand the nature of the problem, and they should be brave. They should be the type of people who don't pretend that the thing is more tractable than it is, don't pretend that the thing is safe, are happy to blow whistles when necessary. I've been pretty disappointed by people leaving these companies clearly under a cloud and not saying anything. I think people should be breaking their NDAs and getting sued, because then there's discovery and I will cover your legal fees. Yeah, actually, we need to have a fund to cover people's legal fees. But the other thing is, once the thing is out, it's out, right? But the number of people who I think know a lot of things that should be public, and they're hiding behind NDAs mostly, or rather they're, because they don't get their stock options if whatever, I don't know.
Sure. So we got to give a shout out to Leopold Aschenbrenner and Daniel Cocotelo, and I think one or two other people I'm probably missing. These are people that actually gave up their right to hold on to their vested options. And luckily, OpenAI later, after there was a lot of outrage, OpenAI actually later reinstated their options, but they actually didn't sign some paperwork when they were leaving, which gave them the right to speak out and left multiple millions of dollars on the table, which they were willing to walk away from. So that definitely deserves to be commended, right?
Yes, I have enormous, enormous respect for them.
Exactly. Me too. And it's very easy for us to be on the outside. I don't have millions of dollars in these companies' stocks. So it's very easy for me to point to everybody who does and say, you guys should be sacrificing that stock. It's very easy for me to say. It costs me nothing to say that. And yet, please do.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just about having these juicy details of what people were saying behind closed doors. It's very plausible that there's nothing super juicy, and everything behind closed doors is just the flavor of drinking their own Kool-Aid or making decisions that are reasonable once you've already accepted the frame that you're doing your best to solve a sufficiently tractable problem. There's not going to be that much juice to spill. You're just already self-deluded in a way.
Yeah, that seems probably true. I think the general public doesn't quite realize. There's just some like pretty basic facts about the situation that the general public doesn't realize, which is like the people running these companies think that they're building a god, approximately. Very reasonable to disagree with whether they'll actually achieve that, but that is what they think they're doing. They think that there's like double-digit chance that if they succeed at this, it will like drive humanity extinct. And they are doing it anyway.
Right. And we agree with their beliefs about these kinds of probabilities and risks. We're actually on the same page as many of these AI company leaders. The only difference is the part where they say, okay, well, I'm going to just go ahead and steer this ship in this direction.
Yeah, this is why I'm a little bit confused about the lack of a like mass protest movement. There are protests, but it's pretty small. I don't quite know what it is that's keeping people from realizing that.
So I just want to push you before when you said, okay, people should join these companies and get ready to blow the whistle. But it sounds like you and I think that the whistleblowing point has already come. So what are you looking for when you join the company?
Uh, I think you have this problem with people drinking their own Kool-Aid or whatever you said, that you get a culture within a company. If everyone with sensible ideas about this has selected themselves out, the culture of the company gets much worse. I think that you have to be there and you have to go to lunch every day and you have to be like a pleasant coworker, be a person who people are happy to have there, but don't pretend like you think that this is all okay. You say, yes, I am on the safety team. I think that we are currently nowhere close to figuring out how to align a superintelligence, and we probably should stop. And have that be like the thing that you say. And yeah, maybe people won't listen to you, but there'll be discussions. I think that like having nobody in the room who hasn't, as you say, drunk the Kool-Aid is like pretty dangerous. It's a difficult role to play socially, but I don't think we can just ignore that. I don't think we can leave that unfilled.
So nobody's job, understandably, nobody has the job description of tell the company when it would be reckless to proceed and therefore we should stop. That's never going to be anybody's job description. The job description is always going to assume, okay, you're here, just do your best, right? Come up with the best research you can. We're not going to stop, okay? We've already decided at the upper level that we're going forward. We're not going to stop. So it's nobody's job to tell them that it's intractable and it's time to stop. And I think it's in the nature of these AI companies. Like it is what it is. If you're an AI company, you go build AI. We have to zoom out and be like, okay, so this problem, the leverage to solve this problem is, as Eliezer Yudkowsky points out, a policy solution, a grassroots political will solution. I mean, that's where we should be putting the lever right now, not just like heading into these AI companies and like waiting for some moment when you can like take your action. Like I think the moment's passed.
This is a false dichotomy. Like you absolutely do both. I mean, it's not inherent to the nature of companies. You could just as well say, oh, if you're an airplane company, obviously there's nobody whose job it is to say this airplane is very likely to crash and we should not launch this product with humans on board. That's definitely somebody's job. That's many, many people's job.
There are people like that at the airplane companies now.
Yes, and in a civil engineering context, is there anyone whose job it is to say, hey, I think that this bridge is going to collapse? Hey, I think this building is going to collapse? Absolutely there is. The fact that AI companies don't have this is a damning indictment of the whole industry at this point. The reason they had that is because of the legislation, I know.
No, the AI's companies have it on a model by model basis, right? So that analogy does hold. They just don't have somebody stepping back and saying, this whole idea that we're researching more AIs, is that a reckless and irresponsible thing to be doing as a company, right? That's the position that they don't have.
Sure, I guess nobody has that. But on the other hand, if your product by product people say, hey, this thing isn't safe, and they say, cool, what do we do to make it safe? And they say, I don't know, like a 5-year research project, they get overruled because these companies don't actually have a sensible culture around this stuff.
What you're describing happened at OpenAI.
Yeah.
In 2023, right? They started the super alignment team because the position internally was, hey guys, I know we're scaling to super intelligence. That's explicitly what we're trying to do. And most of us agree that we're not ready to align superintelligence. Certainly, Ilya Sutskever and Jan Leakey, the heads of that program, they agree that they didn't have what it takes. Ergo, they needed to research it. And then the program failed, and then OpenAI continued. It's like, hello, what, how many other red flags do we need?
Yeah. It's not a good situation.
Right. I mean, that's definitely one of those moments that you look back and like, oh, who could have known that this direction was reckless? It's like, there you go. There's your history.
Yeah. And it's not that surprising given the incentive structure at play.
All right, but you stand by the position that some people who understand the real gravity and potential intractability of the problem should still, according to you, which I think I disagree with, but according to you, they should still join these AI companies.
I think having the companies existing with nobody in them who understands the problem is obviously a worse situation.
I mean, depends how you do the counterfactual, but okay. I mean, I think that's, we've said all there is to say.
Also, I'm less impressed with Anthropic now than I was then. I think they're just gradually being shaped by incentives, right?
Yes.
OpenAI started off a lot better. Anthropic is like moving in an OpenAI would lead direction. And there's a lot of people there who are resisting that movement, a lot of good people. The movement is a lot slower than it could have been. They are doing a good job. It's still, I think, happening.
Right. So there's clearly a lot of people at Anthropic who their heart is in the right place. They understand the gravity of solving AI alignment before building a super intelligent AI. You could call them one of us in many ways, right? They're kind of interchangeable with the kind of people that you and I often talk to. So on one hand, it's cool that Anthropic has these kinds of people who are truly worried, who are go to sleep being as stressed as you and I. But on the other hand, the fact that Anthropic exists and they're still building AI, they're arguably the biggest offenders at tractability washing. Because if they're building AI, that makes it okay for anybody to build AI because even they're doing it, the people who care about safety.
I think they could do an enormous amount of good by just being open. Like, if this is what they think, being open about the situation, saying, hey, we're in this situation where there's competition. We think we're better equipped to do this than anyone else. And so we have to be competitive. However, it would be better if none of us were progressing towards this thing. And to just be open about that when talking to government and so on, or talking to the public.
Yeah, I try to make a visual metaphor here. It's almost like I'm currently stuck to the bumper of a car and now the car is like slowly rolling forward toward a cliff. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can see I'm currently walking, I'm currently jogging toward a cliff. I just want to let everybody know I'm only doing this because I'm stuck to the bumper. Like, I really hope that the car stops and somebody comes and unglues my hands from the bumper. I just want everybody to know that's the only reason why I'm running.
Sure.
I think Anthropic should be saying something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've heard, talking to people at Anthropic, I've heard them justify the thing in those terms. But I would like to hear more of that from management. I'd like to hear it in, congressional hearings or whatever.
Exactly. And then Ilya Sutskever, right, starts safe superintelligence. There's the implication that he doesn't think that OpenAI, not to mention the other companies, he doesn't think that OpenAI is building safe superintelligence. That's why he has his own company called Safe Superintelligence. So he needs to say that car bumper thing. He needs to say, hey, I'm also jogging toward the cliff, guys.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's kind of an awkward metaphor, but I think you should say something. Something like that. We can workshop it.
Exactly. Yeah, these people need to be blinking twice, like letting us know that they're in distress, extreme distress.
Yeah. I'm a little worried that they're kind of, people's psychology gets shaped by the position they're in. I'm a little worried that their mind is molding itself into the shape that it needs to be in order to succeed at the internal politics of running one of these companies.
Absolutely.
Such that they may actually have lost track of what they had planned going in or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't model people as being, most people, sure they're psychopaths, but most people, I don't model them as being actively deceptive, being like, haha, I think this, and I'm telling people this. I mean, they do a little bit here and there. I do think for the most part, what people tell the outside is what they tell themselves, what they repeat in their inner monologue, if they have one.
Yeah, for the majority of people, I think that's true. Most of the time, at least.
And yet they're still wrong. They're still drinking their own Kool-Aid. They're still reckless.